Brooks throws, and that's complete for a first down and then some. Across midfield, inside the 45 to the 44 goes Ronald Curry.
Well, that was a strike by Aaron Brooks. Again, if he's had time, he's been fairly accurate with the football. It's when he's been flushed and when the Jets' pressure has forced some sort of disruption, which of course is true for any quarterback, but the Jets have been after Curry. After Brooks, rather.
On the quick slant to the 30 is Gabriel. And you mentioned it before, Dan. This is not quite the team the Oakland Raiders envisioned having on the field at the start of the year.
No, it's when you're talking about Lamont Jordan, they counted on him so much to be the guy to carry the running game. And, you know, quite frankly, their two best receivers are Randy Moss and Jerry Porter. Porter has been in Shell's doghouse since the very beginning. Randy Moss is injured. Missed the last couple games with a bad ankle, and it's just, you know, it's just a situation where there's been very little productivity at the wide receiver position. There's Randy Moss right there. When this season's over with, Art Shell and Al Davis are going to sit down. Al will meet with Art at the beginning of next week, and they'll try to map out where this franchise goes from here. A lot of speculation as to whether or not Art will return as the head coach. He tells us that he and Al have not discussed that yet.
2nd and 10. Brooks throws incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 10. On the other side of the field, all smiles for the New York Jets as they'll get back to work for the first round of the postseason.
I doubt we'll get a smile out of Eric Mangini and his coaching staff until this thing's over with. Not exactly a backslapping group. Although Eric loves to show his team fight films. Big boxing fan. Teddy Atlas, the trainer, a good friend, stops by Jets camp all the time. And Eric, every Saturday night, shows his team a different fight.
3rd and 10. Brooks throws incomplete. Penalty marker.
Oh, Kerry Rhodes just realized that the back judge threw a penalty. He was walking away and turned back and looked downfield and saw the laundry.
Pass interference. Defense number 25. Automatic first down.
Dan, you're one of those who's a strong believer that Kerry Rhodes should be on his way to the Pro Bowl in Honolulu.
Well, he had that. I think he statistically had the kind of year that warranted it. You know, John Lynch is the guy who's going. There's a statistical comparison. Now, you know, you're dealing with a guy in John Lynch who, you know, he's a potential Hall of Fame football player going to his 8th Pro Bowl. I think a lot of times the first year you deserve a Pro Bowl, you don't get elected. The good news is at the tail end of your career, you'll get one at the end that you probably don't deserve at that end either.
That pass tipped on its way to Johnny Morant. It'll be 2nd and 10, 6:01 on the clock.
But it's hard to have a much better year at the safety position than Kerry Rhodes has had this year for the Jets. And keep in mind, this guy's just a second-year player. The room for growth in this kid is really, really huge. Started all 16 last year, started them all this year. What an outstanding draft choice for a 4th rounder.
Remember when you called Bobby Hamilton one of our really old guys?
Oh, to be that young again.
2nd and 10. Brooks going to go down the sideline and out of bounds. Morant made the catch, but a good 5 yards or so out of bounds. 3rd and 10.
Other than that, it was a good-looking play, wasn't it? Aaron Brooks had no choice but to throw it out of bounds. He was thrown right into double coverage by the Jets.
You know, we always talk about contentious situations. Eric Mangini's wasn't the most comfortable when he began this season with the Jets here in New York, but boy, has he proven his mettle, and he'll get a couple of votes for Coach of the Year honors.
Oh, most certainly he will. Although this is a year that's ripe with candidates.
From the 24. Brooks throws outside, complete, and hit at the 20, and that's short of 1st down yardage.
Well, we talked about those Coach of the Year candidates, and here's a handful. Brian Billick taking over the offensive coordinator duties, and look what he's done with the Ravens. But Sean Payton there at 10-5, you hear him being talked about the most, I think, as the front runner. But Eric Mangini, he has really, this guy's, he's so young. He's still 35 years old. Are you kidding me?
Jets fans want to stop here on 4th and 6. Blitz coming. Brooks throws. Tipped, incomplete. And with 5:05 on the clock, the Jets will take over on downs.
Well, the Jets have taken care of business. Very workmanlike. They had a plan. The plan was, let's not turn the ball over. Let's be conservative. Let's take care of our business, and we'll wait for the other team to be the team that makes the mistakes. And that's the way this game is played out today.
Playoff bound indeed, unless something disastrous happens in these last 5 minutes. The Jets are headed for the postseason. This is Cedric Houston. Headed for the postseason for the first time since 2004. They had a miracle run. Made the playoffs as a wild card team, came within a field goal of going to the AFC Championship. In the wild card game against San Diego, Pennington impressive. 2 touchdown passes after Nate Kading missed a 40-yard field goal in OT. Doug Bryan connected on the following drive to send the Jets to the divisional round where they played Pittsburgh. And this game was also decided by special teams play. Jeff Reed's 33-yard field goal ended the Jets' playoff run. It was a complete flip-flop the year after, and Eric Mangini has flip-flopped it again. Houston. Across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Chad Pennington has had another superb afternoon in charge of the Jet offense, taking what they give him. 22 of 30, 157 yards and a touchdown.
I think where Chad would be really disappointed in this year is that he came into this game with 16 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, and that's so unlike him. Prior to this year, his career number, 55 touchdowns against 30 interceptions. He's a guy that really takes care of the football. But if you want to go into the playoffs riding a hot streak, the Jets are doing just that.
Houston with a first down out to the 32 or 33-yard line to JB in New York. James.
Greg and Dan, Pittsburgh with their traditional approach to a game on the ground. Willie Parker, 16th overall touchdown, a franchise record. He's got 35 carries, 129 yards, and 2 touches. 14-10, Pittsburgh up. Greg and Dan.
JB, thank you. So the Bengals with a little problem. What did you say, the quote that you heard from the Steelers this week?
Yeah, one of the Steelers players had the quote that said, "We're not in the playoffs and we're taking Cincinnati with us."
First down, under 3 minutes to play. Once again, Cedric Houston looking for more people to hit across the 35 to the 37.
Yeah, it's a tough feeling when you're not, you're not going to the party, and if you can inflict a little of that pain on your opponent, there is some measure of satisfaction there.
Well, you know, these Jets knew what they were in for going up against this Oakland Raider defense. Chad Pennington said he told DeBrickashaw Ferguson not to look at them when they're warming up.
He did. He goes, "They're a bunch of war daddies," he called them. I've never heard that expression, war daddies. I'm not sure.
But you kind of know what he means.
Yes.
I think he's looking at Warren Sapp when he says that. 2nd and 6.
Derek Burgess.
Houston can't shake the tackler, and that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. The Jets, 2 minutes from the playoffs.
For Wilson NFL and GST footballs and much more, visit NASN.com, your home for North American sports merchandise.
TV Digital ist da. 14 Tage volles Programm. Top-Übersichtlichkeit im großen Format. Neu und einzigartig in Deutschland. Komplett mit allen Programmen von Kabel Digital Home. Plus ARD, RTL, Pro7 und Co. in einem Heft. Alle 31 Kabel Deutschland Programme mit Bewertung und allen Sendeterminen. Bestellen Sie jetzt Ihr Abo unter 080 5 99 77 44. TV Digital, das ist die Zukunft.
Start the new year off on NASN with all your top North American sports action. The NFL reaches its postseason, and we bring you full coverage of the Wild Card Weekend and the Divisional and Conference Championships. The NHL shows what its best have to offer with the NHL Young Stars Game, the Super Skills Competition, and the 2007 All-Star Game. And we've got lots more top college basketball featuring Texas, Indiana, and Connecticut. Plus, we've got a live viewer's choice. Just some of your highlights this January on NASN.
Welcome back to the Meadowlands, and the fans beginning to celebrate the Jets move into the postseason. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. I know it's not very fair to prejudge football teams prior to the start of the season, but one thing you can be sure of, they're not always right, because no one had these Jets in the postseason.
No, they didn't, and again, it was based on that 4-12, but again, I think that was just indicative of the injuries that they had last year, not necessarily that the franchise itself was in the cellar. It was one bad year.
Meanwhile, over on the sideline, congratulations, Eric Mangini.
Ooh, there might be some laps.
You know, he's
there
not
might
even,
be some laps involved here now.
He's not particularly happy about that.
Yeah. Well, his nickname is the Penguin, so really a little ice bath couldn't have been all that bad. Yeah, look at him. That's it. Oh, he allowed himself a smile there.
He's going to allow himself a smile under 1:20 to play. Pennington takes the first of a couple of knees, and the Jets will waltz into the playoffs.
No back door for the Jets. They've won 3 in a row here to close out the season. 2 of them on the road, at Minnesota, at Miami.
The Jets will move to 10-6. The Oakland Raiders will have lost their 14th of the season. That would be the most in franchise history.
And Chad Pennington's excitement, I think, exists on many levels. First for his team, but you know individually how sweet it is for him to be kneeling down at the end of the 16th game of the season that he has started and played every one.
The Jets and Chad Pennington will live to fight another day. The season is over for the Oakland Raiders, but not for the New York Jets. They win it 23-3, improve to 10-6, and claim one of the AFC wild card berths. For Dan Deerdorf, Greg Gumbel, so long from the Meadowlands. Once again, the Jets 23, the Raiders 3. Coming up, the Capital One update will take you to New York for all of the scores and highlights and the playoff update after this.
For Wilson NFL and GST footballs and much more, visit NASN.com, your home for North American sports merchandise.
TV Digital ist da. 14 Tage volles Programm. Top-Übersichtlichkeit im großen Format. Neu und einzigartig in Deutschland. Komplett mit allen Programmen von Kabel Digital Home. Plus ARD, RTL, Pro7 und Co. in einem Heft. Alle 31 Kabel Deutschland Programme mit Bewertung und allen Sendeterminen. Bestellen Sie jetzt Ihr Abo unter 080 5 99 77 44. TV Digital. Das ist die Zukunft.
Touchdown run and set off some early New Year's celebration in the Big Apple. Brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Modern luxury. It's not just about design, technology, or even performance.
I'm shooting the bold and the beautiful NFL jerseys from Reebok. Now, stick out that chest.
For Reebok official NFL jerseys and more, visit NASN.com.
Late in the fourth, tight one as you see. Let's join the announcers, Ian Eagle and Solomon Wilcox.
A huge call here in Cincinnati on a pass interference penalty to Shea Townsend for the Steelers. 3rd and long for the Bengals. They were unable to complete this pass to Henry.
Carson Palmer had wanted Chris Henry to come back and fight for the ball, and that's what he's doing there. You come back and contest the defensive back for a position to make the catch. You get the contact before the arrival of the ball and draw a flag.
1st and goal now for the Bengals after the 21-yard penalty from the 7 of Pittsburgh. Steelers 14, Bengals 10. Palmer on a give. Rudy Johnson drives forward inside the 5. So he picks up a couple of yards on 1st down, and that clock is moving. We hit the 4-minute mark. Marvin Lewis and the Bengals need a victory to keep their playoff hopes alive.
If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, this is what you want. Marvin Lewis said it. We expect it to come down to this at the end of the season. The end of the game, 3:46 left in this game. We want our fate in our own hands. You have a golden opportunity right now against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Jets have already taken care of business against Oakland. Here's Palmer, play fake, sold it well. Palmer throws underneath. Tony Stewart with the completion, but driven backwards after the catch by James Harrison of the Steelers.
And I think you have to consider this 2-down territory. I don't know that if you don't get it on 3rd down that you try to kick a field goal. I think you've got to go for it as you see Palmer dumping the ball off to Stewart. You got to have a couple of shots at the end zone, but your season comes down to this.
On a 3rd and goal from the 5. Bengals trying to regain the lead. Kenny Watson in there for Cincinnati. Here's Palmer. Palmer looking, throwing, complete. Touchdown! Tony Stewart for the Bengals.
Even after getting hit in this ball game repeatedly, Carson Palmer shows tremendous courage and poise standing in the pocket. Tony Stewart was not his first read. You see him now, he's looking to his left, then he comes back to his right. And see, under pressure, just stayed with it and found Stewart working underneath the coverage, underneath Shea Townsend.
First touchdown of the season for the tight end, Tony Stewart. Graham on for the extra point. And he puts it through. Cincinnati takes a 17-14 lead. We have 2:47 to play at Paul Brown Stadium. And the biggest touchdown of the season for Carson Palmer and the Bengals.
I'm shooting the
break the Bengals' way. They take a 17-14 lead on Pittsburgh with 2:47 to go in the 4th. The second of the 2 playoff scenarios may take form for them with Kansas City leading Jacksonville. And then later on today, if Cincinnati holds on for the win, they will need a San Francisco victory over Denver to secure their second straight playoff berth under Marvin Lewis. Touchdown pass, Palmer to Tony Stewart. And now the Bengals will kick it off. If that score holds up, he'll be known as Touchdown Tony here in Cincinnati. His first touchdown of the season comes in week 17. Graham on the kick. Davenport on the return. It'll across the 15-yard line, and that's where the Steelers will open up. Let's put you through what's happened here today on the scoring summary. Willie Parker got things started with a 1-yard touchdown run, a 7-0 lead for Pittsburgh. Field goal for Graham, and then a 66-yard touchdown reception here in the fourth to put Cincinnati in front. Parker, a 1-yard touchdown run, his second of the day. But then the 5-yard touchdown, Palmer to Tony Stewart. And that's where we stand right now. 17-14, Bengals. Parker lone setback. Shotgun with 2:40 and counting left in the fourth. Roethlisberger steps up, throws. He's got his man, Washington, and he slides down across the 35-yard line. Justin Smith with a big hit on Big Ben, but Roethlisberger got rid of it.
Impressive. Roethlisberger is seeing the field and reading coverages, making plays inside the pocket, moving around just enough to buy time for Washington to get open.
Steelers have moved the football here today. They have 361 total yards of offense. Roethlisberger on the move, and he'll throw it away. Smith applying the heat on Ben Roethlisberger in the direction of Santonio Holmes at 2nd and 10.
If you're Cincinnati, you have to mix up your zone coverages with some man-to-man coverages. Make Ben Roethlisberger have to read what you want to do. I think more importantly, if you're the defensive ends like Justin Smith, you've got to contain Big Ben. His mobility can extend the play, and once he breaks down your defense and get out of the pocket, look for his receivers to turn up to try to make a big play.
In what could be Bill Cowher's final game as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They trail the Bengals 17-14. 2:07 to go in the fourth. Roethlisberger sets and fires. Complete. Santonio Holmes breaking out to the clear. And a first down. Deep into Cincinnati territory.
Way too easy for Ben Roethlisberger on his last two possessions. He's picking this defense apart.
We hit the 2-minute warning on a 35-yard pass play for Pittsburgh.
This is my motivation.
This is fun to watch.
This is my off day.
Who says that the NHL isn't exciting?
This is how you pronounce my name. Dion.
Home in St. Power. This is my Stanley Cup haircut.
Yeah, look at the fans.
Equal to the task.
We have had a whale of a hockey game here tonight. Wow.
There was a
One spot remains in the AFC playoff race. The Jets have clinched a postseason berth with their win over Oakland. Denver plays later on today against the San Francisco 49ers. Cincinnati needs a win here and some help from the 49ers if Marvin Lewis is going to get his team into the playoffs. Right now the focus is on stopping Pittsburgh with 1:58 to go in the fourth quarter. Steelers have it, 1st and 10 at the Cincinnati 28. Nearly 400 yards of offense for Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger, off play action, throws to Kreider, diving forward for a first down. Out near the 15-yard line, and that will go down as a 12-yard gain through the air.
Pittsburgh's ability to move the ball on this possession, it all starts with the offensive line. They're doing an excellent job of protecting their quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, and Bill Cowher's not afraid to allow Big Ben to throw the ball to get his team back in it.
Steelers trying to finish the season at 500. Roethlisberger, handoff. It's Parker, and he's bottled up. No gain on the play for Willie Parker. Landon Johnson among those there for Cincinnati. Parker has 2 rushing touchdowns today, 129 yards on the ground, 36 carries.
They're going to use a timeout here, looks like. But, Bill Cowher is going to try to allow the run game to help them get closer. He's not going to just try to settle for a field goal here. He's looking to score a touchdown. Their best chances of doing that is still continuing to run the football and allowing Ben Roethlisberger to also make some plays throwing.
Cincinnati used the timeout. They have 2 remaining. The thought process for Marvin Lewis may be, hey, if Pittsburgh goes in for a touchdown, we have to have some time left here to mount a drive at the end. There's only 1:17 remaining on the clock, or even a field goal for Pittsburgh to tie it if Cincinnati can get the football back before overtime.
When you play defense, you're always taught, make them keep snapping the ball. The more they snap the ball, if you're a defensive player, it gives you an opportunity to pry the ball loose in some form of fashion. Right now, if you're Cincinnati, you've got to be thinking first, tackle and secure the runner so that he doesn't get extra yards and get it into the end zone. Second of all, you want to try to get that ball loose to create a turnover and save your season.
The streaky Jeff Reed getting ready along the sideline for a potential game-tying field goal. Steelers right now focused on going in front. 2nd and 10. Roethlisberger, deep drop, underneath. It's dropped by Willie Parker. Trying to set up the screen pass for Parker.
Well, he had plenty of blockers out there in front of him. If he makes that catch and can get to the corner, he's probably going to walk into the end zone. Brian Simmons, 56, does a good job of getting outside, trying to contain Parker. But watch it. Okay, if he catches it, well, I think you saw the black and orange. They really did have it well defended.
3rd and 10. Fans on their feet. 1:12 left to play. Cincinnati still thinking playoffs. Roethlisberger steps, guns, low throw. It's incomplete on a bounce to Holmes. And now the field goal unit will come on with 1:07 remaining. Kevin Casefaharn limping a bit after the play for Cincinnati.
Now you think back to the timeout called by Marvin Lewis. Even Bill Cowher's thinking of it. Even if you convert on the field goal attempt from Jeff Reed, still about a minute left on the clock for Carson Palmer and the Cincinnati Bengals offense.
35-yard attempt. And the play whistle dead. Marvin Lewis went over to the official.
Timeout, Cincinnati. It's a team second charge timeout. 30-second timeout.
You see Bill Cowher looking at his former assistant coach. He's saying, I see what you're doing trying to ice my guy. It's Marvin going over, and he wants this timeout called just before they snap the ball. And then he's going to call it. And that's why Bill Cowher looks over at Marvin Lewis saying, I know where you learned it from because I'm used to doing the same thing.
.107 left to play in the 4th. Cincinnati 17, Pittsburgh 14. Jeff Reed coming on for a 35-yard field goal attempt. Marvin Lewis using a timeout to ice the kicker, but that takes a timeout away from the kitty for Cincinnati, with Carson Palmer ready to get the football back.
But he has a very good memory, as if he were an elephant, thinking back to last week and saw what happened with his field goal kicking team.
Here we go. Jeff Reed, 35-yard attempt. Looking to tie this one up. 1:07 remaining. Gardocki to hold it. Warren to snap from 35 yards away. He's got it. We are tied at 17. Just over a minute to play here in Cincinnati. Bill Cowher's team able to get down the field for the game-tying field goal.
It's a big-time kick from Jeff Reed. They iced him, but He's able to keep his poise and knock it through to tie this game up. So you might ask, did Marvin Lewis squander one of his timeouts? Definitely felt it was worth it trying to ice Jeff Reed, but you're still going to get the ball with good time on the clock.
Time for an update. We head to New York and JB.
Ian and Solomon, the man that Shannon Sharp likes to call Pocket Hercules. Maurice Jones-Drew, 5-yard TD run, 8th consecutive game with a rushing touchdown. That is a rookie record. Kansas City only up by 5. Ian and Solomon.
So some drama still left in the early starts here on CBS. We'll keep you updated. Cincinnati can clinch a playoff berth with a victory here and a Kansas City win over Jacksonville, and then they need a Denver loss to San Francisco. That's later today.
What you hope for here, if you're Cincinnati, you want to get excellent field position, so you want to count on a really good return to set the table for Carson Palmer.
Jeff Reed will kick it off. Glenn Holt is the deep man. Rookie out of Kentucky. 1:03 remaining on the clock. On the kick by Reed, here is Holt. Carries him to the goal line. Will take it out. Holt makes a move. Stays on his feet across the 30-yard line. 33-yard return. NFL Today update. JB in New York.
Ian Solomon, take a look. Where was Detroit like this all season long? Take a look. John Kitna hooking up with Mike Williams. 21-yard strike. Good. 2-pointer, no good. Up by 5 over Dallas. If Dallas loses, Philly wins the East. And, by the way, the Giants have clinched the postseason berth. Ian and Solomon.
All right, JB, thanks very much. The kicker for the Bengals, Shane Graham. His long this season is 51 yards. Will Carson Palmer put him in a position for a game-winning field goal? Drive starts at the 33. Tied at 17. Here's Palmer in the pocket. Throwing. High throw. It's incomplete. Hushmanzada and the veteran Tyrone Carter matched up along the sideline.
First of all, you have to protect your quarterback if you're going to get inside that target line, which is right around the 35-yard line. That's where Carson Palmer and company needs to get the ball in order for Shane Graham to feel like he can connect consistently.
2nd and 10 now from the 33. 50 seconds remain. Here's Palmer. Protection holds up. Uncorks a deep ball. Palmer. It's caught. Chris Henry. Huge play for the Bengals.
Carson saying, now, if you're offensive lineman, you've been jumping all game, settle down. No movement on that offensive line so he can down the ball.
Palmer spikes it with 22. Carson Palmer has gone over 4,000 yards passing, the first Bengal to do it. And he cashes in on a big play to Henry down the middle.
Working against Brian McFadden. We told you that the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary was very vulnerable and prone to giving up big plays. We talked about it last night with Bill Cowher, and I think they're going up against 3 of the best wide receivers on the same team in Chris Henry, TJ Hushmanzada, and Chad Johnson. Carson Palmer able to take advantage of it. They took their one shot and were able to connect on it on this final drive.
4 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Play clock just ran out.
Cincinnati, 5-yard penalty.
So a mistake here for the Bengals, not getting sorted out on time after the spike. And they'll back it up 5 yards. They were looking at a 43-yard attempt in that range.
Well, here's what you can't do. You can't start panicking over that and start complaining. I think as the Cincinnati Bengals, you've got to look forward. Be proactive to the next situation. You're going to get an opportunity to kick the ball, but right now it's 2nd and 15. Try to get more yards and set yourself up for the game-winning field goal.
22 seconds remain. The officials still huddling up. Here's Carollo.
Correction. Cincinnati called timeout prior to the delay of game. It's their third and final timeout. 30-second timeout.
So the 5 yards will be given back to the Bengals. And Marvin Lewis is now out of timeouts. It was a bit bizarre because nobody was moving for Cincinnati on offense, and the play clock hit 0. Carson Palmer's looking around. What happened?
But I still think you should have been in a position to run another play, and you do not have to squander your final timeout.
22 seconds left. Line of scrimmage is the 20-yard line. Right now, they are staring at a 38-yard field goal attempt for Shane Graham. They'd like to get it to the middle of the field. Right now, it's lined up on the left hash. No timeouts remaining for the Bengals. Possible playoff berth on the line in Bill Cowher's potential last game as Pittsburgh Steelers head man. And Palmer will go right down.
Now you've got to get up, and now you've got to spike the ball, and then you run your kicker out.
Clock is not moving.
Much to the dismay of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The chat here, was that a QB sack? Now the clock is rolling. And Bill Carollo will sort this out.
Please reset the game clock to 12 seconds on the incomplete pass.
So 12 seconds.
It gives, if you're Shane Graham, you're thinking back to the missed opportunity to convert on the extra point because of the poor snap from Brad St. Louis. And now you have the opportunity to set your team up for another win, the 9th on the season for the Cincinnati Bengals, and just an opportunity to advance into the postseason.
Complete heartache last week in a loss to Denver, 24-23. A bad snap on the extra point that would have tied it. This will be a 39-yard field goal attempt for Shane Graham. 12 seconds remain. We are deadlocked at 17. Bengals need a win if they have any hope of going back to the playoffs in consecutive years. 39-yard attempt for Graham. Larson to hold it. St. Louis to snap it. And Pittsburgh will use a timeout. Some gamesmanship. We saw it from Lewis earlier. And now we'll see it from Bill Cowher.
Timeout, Pittsburgh.
And there it is. Bill Cowher. 15 years as the head coach of the Steelers. A decision expected possibly this coming week on his future. Well, a review of last week. Pushmanzada a touchdown, and then on the extra point that would have tied it at 24. Bad snap. They couldn't handle it. Bengals fall 24-23, and that's what put them in this position this week where they need a win and some help.
And with that kind of play, it has to bring about some high anxiety for all the members involved on this field goal team. But you have to be able to sweep that aside and still go out and execute.
This is for the lead. 39-yard attempt for Shane Graham. Larson the holder. Snap is good.